It's a really fast opener.
And 3 white lights for Michaela's first attempt.
It looks like Michaela's lifting on home turf as well.
Yes, she is from Weyburn, I believe. Our next lifter is going to be Stephanie Boptis, and she's opening with 85 kilos at just a body weight of 52 kilos. Actually, she only weighed in at 48 kilos, so well under that 52 kilo
Very
weight
light.
class. And that's another easy looking opener. And 3 white lights from the referees there.
I think it's been a while since we've had a 52 kilo lifter around.
Yeah, nobody's coming to mind for recent years anyway.
Easy opener. 3 white lights. Melissa also hails from Weyburn.
We've got athletes here today from all over the province. A number from Saskatoon, Weyburn, Regina, Moose Jaw, and I believe some small towns as well. So Danielle Vandekerchov is our next lifter, taking 105 for her first attempt.
It's a nice strong squat.
And another 3 white lights. So the referees are looking for a number of different things. In the squat, the most common thing that they're watching for is depth. So the top of the hip joint must go below the knee, and that would be a red card. So if you see any red lights come up there with a red underneath, that would be for depth, and that's the most common infraction in the squat. So Michelle's from Weyburn here.
Yep. She's taking the same weight.
And that looked really good. And another good attempt. And actually, I'm mistaken. Michelle is from North Portal, but she trains out of Weyburn. And the same weight on the bar, 105 kilos, 231 pounds for Larissa Smetzler.
Larissa's actually from Estevan.
Oh, and as you might have noticed there's a head referee that's out of frame of the camera, but they're giving 2 commands, the squat command, and then the lifter can start the lift, and the rack command. So if the lifter doesn't listen to either of those commands, they'll get a red light, and then that would be a yellow card.
Bars loaded for Kelsey. Kelsey is in the 63 kilo weight class. And I think she has some goals later today to attempt a deadlift record. So we'll see what she puts up here.
That attempt looked plenty deep to me. And the referees agree, 3 white lights. Jenny Henty's up next, 110 kilos, 242 pounds. And Jenny's from Regina, training out of OPEX in Regina. And you might have noticed Jenny's choosing not to wear a belt. So athletes in the raw division or the classic division, they can wear, they have to wear a singlet, and then they can also wear a belt, knee sleeves if they choose, and wrist wraps if they choose. And you'll get some athletes that choose not to just because they might find that they can brace better without it. It's definitely a skill that you have to learn to actually wear the belt and get an advantage out of it. Next up, we have Heather Anderson with 120 kilos, 264 pounds.
That's a very nice squat.
And these are really good looking openers.
So we're at the last few lifters for the women.
So with the squats, everybody gets to choose what weights they're starting at, and then they get to choose what their second and third attempts are as well. So you can gauge your second and third attempts based on how your opener moves. So you want to make sure that opener is easy enough that you can definitely do it to the competition standards, and then you still have room to jump up as well. And the openers continue to look really good. So we have 2 more lifters in the first round of squat. Jade Watson is taking 142.5 here, 314 pounds. And then we have Tori Anhold, and then we'll start our second attempts. And Jade's from Saskatoon, training out of Rise Strength Lab. Another really good opening attempt there. These are all looking easy enough that there's no concern that they're not going to be able to come up with it, which is what you want to see with opening attempts. So our last opening attempt here, Tori Anholtz, taking 150 kilos or 330 pounds. And Tori is from Outlook.
She is with Dolan Barbell. If you haven't watched powerlifting before, you get 3 attempts for each lift. And your best attempt gets added together with all the other lifts for a total.
And let's see the referees. 3 white lights there. All right, all of our ladies are what we call in the meet. They all have a squat on the board, so that will go towards their total. So now we're dropping the bar down. So in the second round of squats, same as the openers, we start with the lightest second attempt and then work our way back up, and we'll do the same thing for our third attempts. So Michaela's jumped 7.5 kilos for her second. She was successful with 75 on her opener. So I expect this to move quite well.
It's almost faster than her first
Yeah.
one.
So I would think she can take another 7.5 kilo jump with how that one looked, but we'll see what our coach puts in. That one didn't slow down any with the first jump, so usually if it didn't slow down any, then take the same jump and see how it moves on the third. So Stephanie is asking for 90 kilos on her second. And I believe her opener looked really good as well.
The first attempt is always the most nerve-wracking, just because you have the adrenaline running into the meet.
Yeah, once you get that first one in, you see those white lights, then everything can calm down a little bit, and oftentimes second attempts move a little bit better, look a little bit more controlled. Nice, smooth second attempt
nice.
for Stephanie. So on the screen there, you can see from the far right side, she got a 1 card. And from the left side, she got a yellow card. So that 1 card or the red card is for depth. So she didn't quite go deep enough. She needs to get a little bit lower so her hip joint goes below the knee. From the left side, she got a yellow card. And a yellow card could be a variety of different things. I didn't see on that one what the yellow would have been for, but that referee obviously saw something that we didn't. But she'll come out and get that one on her third. Melissa's up next with 97.5.
And that's the tough thing about powerlifting. You really are at the will of the judges. They tell you when to squat, they tell you when to go back into the rack. And even though you may think you have stood up properly, there is a few technical things that need to check off. A little bit of a sticking point, but she was able to fight through it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see a huge jump for her third attempt here, just with a little bit of sticking point, but who knows, she might have just braced incorrectly or misgrooved it a little bit and be able to correct that on her third.
And that's the thing, when you add more weight onto the bar, you start to see some of the weaknesses come out. And it's different for each person. I didn't even blink and the squat was over.
That was very fast. Bit of a technical problem here with the lights. I think the referee should just go to flags if they can't get that corrected. There you go. We see 3 white cards held up, so that was a good lift for Michelle.
Up next is Marissa with 112.5, then Kelsey and Jenny. Bars loaded.
Larissa is with In-Depth Powerlifting.
Yeah, based out of Weyburn here. There we go. good attempt. A solid looking second attempt. Got some room to go on her third there. So the lifters today are divided, they're all open lifters, so for the most part between ages 23 and 39. And then there are an assortment of weight classes all the way from 52 kilos to 84 plus. And then at the end of the day, we'll take the best squat, bench, and deadlift and add it together for their total, and they'll be ranked on their total within their weight classes.
So Kelsey lifts with Rise Strength.
Plenty of depth on that one from my point of view. And the referees agree there. Jenny Henty's our next lifter, asking for 117.5. She jumped 7.5 from her opening attempt, so I expect this to move quite well again. Yeah, that same sort of sticking point there halfway up the lift, but I think she's aware of that and fights through it, but misses the lift there. 2 red cards for depth. They were both the red card or the 1. So she just needs to go a little bit deeper on her third attempt to get that score on the scoreboard.
And sometimes that's the hard thing for lifters, is getting that sweet spot, because you do not want to go so deep that you can't get out of the hole.
No, but then you've got to go deep enough that you get those white lights so you get credit for the attempt.
Absolutely.
And there's definitely value in training with people who know the rules and can tell you, and who are honest with you too, that, oh, nope, that you were squatting high today, or nope, that looks good. And having that honesty and trust between training partners is really important. Very nice position on that one for Heather. There's no loss of position to her back. And
very controlled.
Yeah.
Sarah lifts with Bridge City Barbell. And she is located in Humboldt.
Lots of strength on that. To me, I thought she had lost position in the bottom. Just her knees caved and everything looked like it shifted a little bit, but tons of strength there to recover out of that. All right, 2 more ladies in our second round of squats. Jade Watson's next with 152.5 kilos. She jumped 10, so as the weight gets heavier, usually you get bigger jumps. Obviously, based on percentage, the less weight, a smaller jump could be the equivalent percent as a bigger jump at a higher weight.
Jade's club is Rise Strength Lab, which is out of Saskatoon.
We've got a number of lifters competing this weekend out of Rise, I believe.
Yes, quite a few of them. Still a little catchy coming up, but she stood up.
And a bit of a technical issue with the cards there, or with the lights, sorry. But 3 white lights there. her last second attempt for the female flight, Tori Anholt with 155 kilos. Nice fight through that
Yeah,
one.
That was a good fight.
Nice. She gets that on the board. All right, so we're starting our third attempt at squats for the female flight, and then we'll roll right into squat 1 of the men's flight. So in the warm-up room right now, the men are just likely finishing their last warm-ups through the first few third attempts for these females. She moved the weight no problem on her second attempt, but just needs to go a little bit deeper, I believe. There we go. So Stephanie will finish the day with 90 kilos or 198 pounds on the squat. And she did what I would say would be the right move. She missed it on her second attempt, and instead of jumping up, even though she lifted the weight, instead of jumping up in weight, she just stayed at the same weight and got credit for that one instead of jumping up, and you never know, it might be too heavy today.
Looks like a good lift. You hear the celebration.
So Melissa's taking 102.5 here, and it looks like, now this data might not be 100%, but it looks like her best squat attempt in a competition prior to today, it was 95 kilos. So she already surpassed that on her second
That's
attempt,
awesome.
so she's looking for a 7.5 kilo competition PR here, right here.
Third attempts are definitely PR plays.
And she
want-
gets it.
It's definitely where you want to try if you're in the position to push your personal best.
So Danielle's jumped up to 115 kilos on her third attempt here. 112.5 was her second. And if you're unfamiliar with kilos, 115 kilos is 253 pounds. And just not quite today. But she'll still get credit for her second one of 112.5 kilos. Kelsey Goodmanson is up next, 120 kilos for her third attempt. She was successful with her second of 115 and then did that same 5 kilo jump that she had done from the prior attempt. So nice even jumps there, 110 on her opener, 115 on her second, and 120 here on her third.
That was for sure beyond depth.
Yeah, I feel like she's gotten better as the day's gone on here. Her opener, if I recall correctly, looked a little bit A little challenging, but on that replay there, that third attempt looked nice and strong. So Michelle Buchanan, 120 kilos for her third attempt. And she was successful with 112.5 on her second.
See what the judges say here.
So she got 2 red lights there. The one circle is surrounded by yellow and one is blue. So blue would be up and down of the bar. So just as she was coming into the hole there, she had a bit of a catch and the bar went down, that referee thought. And then yellow from the front on that one. I'm not 100% sure what that call would have been. It could have been the same thing and just a different color got thrown. I'm not sure. Larissa Smeltzer is next with 120 kilos.
That's a good fight.
Sticking point. I thought she was going to step early there, but she did wait for that rack command.
And sometimes that's hard to resist because it's heavy. You just want to get it back in, but you have to wait for that command.
And there's definitely some skill and some value in practicing with those commands in the gym as well, so that you have your training partners telling you the commands so you're used to hearing that and you're not just going when you want to go.
What's that saying? Practice how you will play.
Exactly.
Lots of patience there.
Oh, look, it's a little forward at the top, but she was able to hold it there. And she gets that. So she had missed her second attempt of 117, still chose to jump up to 122.5, and successful third attempt there for Jenny. So Heather Anderson taking 135 kilos for her third attempt.
She is with OPEX Regina. We have a couple of OPEX people. Very nice and controlled coming up. 2 white lights, so that means good lift. You just
So
need
much
to
control on that one. I love watching her squat because that back position just stays exactly where it should be through the entire lift. All right, 3 more ladies squats left, and then we'll roll into the men's flight. Sarah's up next with 152.5 or 336 pounds. That was a very fast third attempt.
I feel like that was faster than her last one.
Yeah, I don't recall her second being quite that fast. So sometimes on that third attempt, though, you've got a little bit more adrenaline. The nerves are gone because you've got your first and second in, you're on the board, and that third, you can just go out there and do what you do without maybe overthinking.
Well, and really, at the end of the day, this is what you train for, is that PR.
Exactly.
Next fight, make sure you're ready to go.
All right, Tori jumped 2.5 from her second attempt here to 157.5.
Sometimes people do that because they know they're just not feeling they might have that extra. Good catch by spotters and loaders.
Most definitely. Those guys are working hard out there, keeping everybody safe. Our last female of the day Jade Watson is taking 160 kilos for her third attempt.
Bars loaded.
Her second attempt looked very easy, so I do expect this one to likely look the same. And it looks like she had competed at the Foundation Open last May and squat 147.5 there. And out here today, she's squatting 160, so she's making some great progress in the sport here. Nice. That was really good control on that for Jade. And 3 white lights.
Whoever coaches or handler back there is just as excited.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the live stream will pick that up or not, but it's always good to see that support of people behind all of the athletes. So now I'll roll right into the men's flight.
Yuri. Bars loaded for Yuri. 180 kilos. Then Landon and Brandon.
And Jerry is, he lives in Regina. Not too sure which gym or which club.
That was a very
pretty deep.
easy.
Very deep, too.
It's a good place to start, strong and confident, and then he can jump from there. So Landon Hill is our next athlete, coming out for a 205 kilo opening attempt.
Bars loaded.
Which is almost 452 pounds. Sometimes it's hard converting the pounds to kilos and back and forth. It's a very nice, smooth squat, and the white lights to follow it, so good lift.
217.5 kilos. Then Dustin Thomas. Bars loaded.
Brandon Strone up next, 217.5.
Brandon lifts out of Saskatoon, but he doesn't necessarily lift with a specific club or gym. Basically, wherever he can find a gym, because he works out of town often. And he is what we call completely raw. He has no knee sleeves, no belt.
And unfortunately didn't get that lift. Looks like depth from the side and a yellow from the front. I'm not sure what the call was from the front, but depth from the sides for sure. So he'll just need to go a little bit deeper on his second attempt, but he's got 2 more shots at that one, so it shouldn't be a problem for him. Strength wasn't the issue. Dustin Frazier is our next lifter out of Moose Jaw, opening up with 220 kilos. There's good speed out of the
squat.
hole there. And 3 white lights is on the board.
Dustin trains with champions.
Dustin trains in out of my gym in Moose Jaw. Unparalleled performance.
Tommy is a part of Bridge City Barbell. which is in Saskatoon. He does train out of Rise Strength Lab, but he is one of the main individuals with the Bridge City Barbell Club.
Nice
That was
speed on
fast,
that
yeah.
opener. There we go. He's on the board with that opening attempt. All right, Daniel Holzer is up next with 222.5 or 490 pounds. So we're just creeping up. We're just shy of 500 pounds on these opening attempts.
So Daniel was born and raised in Moose Jaw, but he's living in Saskatoon now. And he does lift at Motion Fitness. He doesn't lift with a specific club or gym. But he did say, my neighbors have told me that my deadlifts shake their house.
And that's a good looking opener. And that's the thing. You can train powerlifting at really any commercial gym. It's maybe a little bit more ideal to be somewhere that specializes in powerlifting and has powerlifting specific equipment. But it's definitely not necessary. As long as you've got a barbell and some plates, you can definitely train all of the lifts. Our next athlete is Alexei Kiselenko, taking 230 on his first attempt.
Alexei is actually from Ukraine. Holy.
Very strong looking opening attempt there.
Good across the board.
And two more athletes to go for opening attempts. Nathan Dorward's up next with 235 kilos. And Nathan is lifting, he's the one lifter this afternoon that we have in the equipped division. So what that means is he can be wearing a squat suit, which is a polyester singlet that doesn't have any stretch to it, as well as knee wraps. So it's a bit more, there's a bit more technical work that needs to go into equipped lifting than into raw lifting. But then there is also the advantage that there's a little bit more spring out of that hole. So you can see he's got knee wraps on, so there's a little tuft coming out the front there instead of a knee sleeve that most of the athletes are wearing. That's just made of neoprene.
I was just going to teasingly ask, isn't equipped cheating?
And the answer is definitely no. All right, that looked good. We'll
Beautiful
see what the referees
squat.
say. And he gets that one on the board, 2-1. So we got called for depth from the front with that red card, but from the sides, they gave it to him. So every referee, there's 3 referees, 1 on each of the sides and 1 in the front. And each of them has a bit different perspective. So just because it looks a certain way on the live stream, and obviously the camera angle can play into it too. So there's 3 referees with each their own view to give the athlete the best advantage to get the lift. So Matt Budney is our last squatter here, 245.
And he actually grew up in Weyburn, but is now in Saskatoon. He is with Bridge City Barbell, and he moves some heavy weight from what I've seen in his training.
No issue on the strength with that one. A little almost wobble through
Yeah.
his way up, but it could have just been a little bit of a misgroove, a little bit of a bracing issue, and I'd expect him to come out on his next attempt and be a little bit, I guess I'd like him to be a little bit more solid through that.
And I think this is
attempt.
his first provincials too, so that might play a factor as well.
Definitely nerves could be a little bit higher given the situation.
And it's definitely different going from a local meet to a bit of a higher level meet, especially if you're trying to work your way up to qualifying for regionals and particularly nationals, because it is a different level of expectation when you're going out there. He is so very controlled.
And it looks like to me that that's actually a new competition personal best, because previously, if the data I have here is right, 187 was his best, and that was in the 190, so he'll have the opportunity to push that up a little bit more on his third attempt.
I don't think that registered for him. He walked off with business on his face. So
He's got more goals.
Yeah.
So Brandon's taking 217.5 again. He missed this on his opener he got called on depth, I believe. So to me, that's the smart moves. Keep the same weight. He missed it on his opener, stay the same weight, sink it a little bit deeper instead of adding a little bit more weight, and just the more weight, you never know what could happen. See what the referees say on that one. 2-1, so he won't get that one. They called him on depth again, so he needs to just go a little bit deeper. So I'm hoping that he stays at 217.5 for his third attempt, just because I'd like to see the lightest weight he can possibly do if he needs to sink it that bit more. Landon Hill's up next with 220 kilos. 485 pounds are on the bar.
Yeah, we're just shy of the 500-pound mark. That also looked like a good squat.
I would expect to see him over 500 on his third attempt.
227.5 kilos by Daniel and Thomas. Bars loaded.
Dustin Fraser is our next athlete, 227.5 for his second.
I can see Rhea out of the corner of my eye doing the coach, the coach watch.
I've watched a lot of Dustin squats, and I'm training with him most days, so definitely know how it should look. So it's looking pretty solid today for him, though. I'd guess I'll go 232.5 on his third attempt would be my guess. We'll see what his coach puts in.
Bars loaded.
All right, next athlete, Daniel Holzer, taking 230 kilos.
So this is 507 pounds.
And we talked about gear a little bit. So a raw or a classic lifter can wear a belt, wrist wraps, and knee sleeves. Most athletes definitely do choose to wear a belt and knee sleeves. Daniel's choosing not to. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Kudos to those that do.
Strong looking second attempt. 2-1, it's a good lift. Yeah, the knee sleeve just provides a little bit of compression and warmth to the joint. So definitely if you've got joints that maybe are stiffer or a little bit more sore, sometimes that extra compression and warmth from them can just make squats feel a whole lot better.
Tommy is out. He is taking 235 kilos, 518 pounds. Tommy has lifted internationally, so
That's a really nice looking second
That is
attempt.
nice. White lights to follow.
So in order to compete at Saskatchewan Provincials, you have to have done a prior powerlifting competition within the province or within the Canadian Powerlifting Union in order to qualify. There's not a certain standard you have to hit, but you just have to have that previous meet experience.
This is Alexei. Yes. Jump 10 kilos to 240 kilos. Just shy of 530 pounds. So we'll see if he'll get a little tighter for this one.
Yeah, that looked a bit better to me.
Yeah.
And I don't think depth will be a problem. Yeah, 3 white lights on that one. It's always good when the second attempt looks a little bit better than the opener. A little bit instills a bit of confidence there. All right, Nathan went up 15 kilos for his second attempt to 250 kilos. So we've got 2 more left in the second round of squats, and then we'll move on to the third round. And Nathan was our equipped lifter, so he's wearing a squat suit and knee wraps.
Lots of pressure.
Yeah, he's really got to fight to hold his position. The suit really wants to throw you out of position. So you really have to hold your position and almost push into the suit to get to depth. That looked pretty easy, and 3 white lights from the
Good
referees.
lift. Yeah, and the other thing with equipped is if you have not tried it before and you try it for the first time, there is a pain factor that you may not anticipate. So those wraps that he has on, they have little grippers on the inside, and they are tight. I don't know if you can see on the screen, but his legs were pretty purple.
And usually you'll have a coach who wraps your knees as well. You won't do it yourself as the athlete. The coach will do it just to sort of conserve some energy, and usually somebody else can get them a little bit tighter on your knees than you can yourself. Matt's taking 252.5 on his second attempt here.
It's 557 pounds. That was so deep.
And that's a good second attempt.
Like probably 4 inches below depth.
And it looks to me like he's only done 1 competition and he squat 237.5 at it, and he just squat 252.5. And he still has 1 more attempt. So,
And if I remember correctly, he's a deadlifter as well. So we'll probably expect to see.
looking forward to seeing deadlifts come around for him. All right, so we're starting the third attempt squats here. With 200 kilos on the bar for Jerry.
If he gets this, he'll be 3 for 3 for his lifts. And he's been a pretty good squatter so far.
Again, just no loss of back position there. That's what you want to see.
Very calm and controlled.
So it's good to see the sort of upper part of the shoulders rising at the same rate as the hips when they come out of the hole, and not what I would call a good morning. So the
Yes.
hips rise and the chest falls, and then the chest has to sort of catch up and do a little sunrise.
It's nothing worse than a good morning squat. And if you don't know what it looks like, you'll definitely feel it the next day.
All right, so Brandon needs this attempt in order to have a total today. He missed 217.5 on his first two on depth. He did choose to jump to 225 for his third attempt here, and maybe that extra weight will just help to push him a little bit deeper here so he can get those 3 white lights. See what the
Let's see
referees
what they
say.
say.
Ah, there you
2
go.
for 1. Yeah, that's always a risky move.
Yeah, and it's tough to say because sometimes you do need a little bit more
Yep.
load just to be able to get to depth there, but it worked out for him today. So all of our men are going to have a total so far. Everybody has now made an attempt. All right, Landon has taken 230 for his third attempt. And it looks like this would be a new personal best as well. His previous best is 227.5.
So it's just a little chip on the previous attempt.
That looks
Nice.
solid. There we go.
507 pounds that was.
And we say just a 2.5 kilo personal best, but you work for months and months and months and hours in the gym for every even half kilo gains. Sometimes there are years between personal bests, and you just keep training and keep putting the work in, and eventually, we always hope that it eventually pays off.
Yeah. I'm smiling because if you've been lifting for a while, those PRs sometimes get far and few between. And when you first start powerlifting, you get the thrill of getting PRs meet after meet, and they're pretty consistent, and then you kind of plateau a bit. That was a good fight.
Good for third attempt for Dustin.
Yeah,
and
that was
3 white
good.
lights.
He maintained his composure, but you could see that the fight in his face.
Definitely had to push through that top half of the squat, but he'll get credit for a 232.5 today. And I think he'll be happy with that based on how his training has gone. Next up, we've got Daniel Holzer with 235.
518 pounds.
And I believe this will be a new personal best for Daniel as well. Again, that 2.5 chip he competed at Westerns in August and did 232.5 there. So we're not too far removed from that competition, just over 2 months. And going for a new PB here. So training's obviously going quite well. Good fight through that
a little bit
one.
of a sticking point, but he worked through it.
And credited with 235 kilos.
Yeah, it's amazing watching people step onto the platform. Daniel is a very nice guy, but when he gets on the platform, every once in a while you see an animal come out.
Yeah, sometimes people appear to be very different people on the platform than they are in real life.
So this is shy of 530 pounds for Tommy. Tommy actually started powerlifting because he needed a competitive outlet. That was a very nice squat.
That was a very easy third attempt.
Yeah.
I had to check the scoreboard that we were on thirds there.
It's interesting because he's going to school to be a physiotherapist, and I had a conversation with him, and he was talking about how physiotherapy school almost made him need to go to physiotherapy because he's been sitting a lot, and and it's kind of been impacting some of the lifts. So it's good to see that he's been able to work through that.
Alexei has 245 kilos, 540 pounds on the bar for his third attempt here. Just jumped 5 from that second attempt, so.
really interesting. I think as he moves on his attempts, he gets more solid.
Yeah, those were much more solid than his opening attempt was. And again, it could just be nerves. Once you get that first one in, okay, now we're good. Now we can go back to squatting how we squat in training. There's a lot of things to think about when you're out there on the platform. The commands, trying not to think about the crowd full of people watching you, and then just trying to think about getting to depth and making sure you don't make any silly little mistakes.
So Nathan is normally a mild man, but when he comes out to equip powerlift, something else comes out.
And he obviously didn't like how he was unracking it there. So the lifter does have a full minute that they can set up before they get that start command. So he did the smart thing and put it back and reset up. Just not quite there today. So shake his head there and get the spotters help him.
Next is Matt with 265 kilos, then we've got a 10-minute break.
So we have one lifter left in the squat round. Matt Budney is taking 265 kilos or 584 pounds. And then after this squat, there will be a 10-minute break while we reset the platform for bench press. And we'll go back to ladies bench press first and then move into the men.
584 pounds. Like, what weighs that much that we could compare to? That is so heavy. I thought for a second Rhea was going to look up what weighs 580 pounds. We might have an answer. What?
That was a very easy third attempt. I can't believe what I just saw.
So what weighs 500?
So it looks
pounds.
like some things that weigh around that are a vending machine, an average V8 engine, and a baby grand
And piano. Wow.
So if that puts it into context for any of you,
If you didn't know, you know now.
so there will be a 10-minute break here. Just want to thank the sponsors of today's championship. So we have Welsh Kitchen. Welsh Kitchen is based here in Weyburn, and they make fresh soups, salads, sandwiches, breads, desserts, and more. And I can say it is delicious. If you're ever in Weyburn, definitely check them out. Another sponsor today is Flawless Nutrition. They're based here in Weyburn as well and open 7 days a week. They're a supplement store, so definitely check them out if the next time you need supplements. And they also have an online store, so they can ship anywhere in the province, and I would guess country as well. Olympia In-Depth Performance is our host team for this year. They're here in Weyburn. They've been operating since 2007, and they have quite an extensive powerlifting club as well as training there for a lot of other sports as well. So if you're in the Weyburn area and looking for a gym, that's a great place to check out. Two more sponsors, Inner Strength Products. Inner Strength is based out of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and are the supplier of basically anything you might need for powerlifting. So if you're considering getting into the sport and needing a belt or knee sleeves, shoes, check them out, innerstrengthproducts.ca.
I can say the owners are wonderful people.
And SBD Apparel Canada is our final sponsor. SBD is a world-class product. They are made for top competing athletes. They're definitely a brand that you will see on almost every platform. So check out SBD Apparel if you are in the market for any singlet, wraps, or sleeves.
I'm actually going to ask the question because I've been asked this question a few times. I know the answer, but people know the SBD brand, but sometimes they don't know what it means. What does SBD mean, in case you're embarrassed to ask?
Well, SBD can mean a lot of different things, and I'm actually not sure what the official answer to that would be from SBD Apparel. So SBD could stand for squat, bench, deadlift, which is the most obvious one. I will be honest with you, and I was aware, and my company was selling the brand SBD for a large number of years, and I hadn't put together what it might stand for. It was just 3 letters put together and was a brand in itself. Another thing that it could stand for is strength, belief, and determination, which is definitely something that all of these athletes here today are exemplifying as they're putting on these displays of strength today.
So if you didn't know, you know now, and you don't have to ask and be embarrassed.
So if you are watching this stream and interested in getting to know more about this sport, more about powerlifting, are based in Saskatchewan and want to compete in the sport, definitely check out our website, saskpowerlifting.ca. On there you can find all sorts of information about upcoming events. You can find links to rules, how to buy your membership. You can check out what the records might be. Maybe you're training in the gym already and you would be close to setting a provincial record, so that can definitely be motivating. The other thing, Carolyn, you had talked about earlier was finding powerlifting as an athletic, a competitive outlet.
There's some people that, and I can say this for myself. I was in the gym just
somebody to actually give you that command. There we go. So Danielle's opening attempt was 50 kilos, 110 pounds, and she's successful with that.
And I think the key thing with bench is that bar has to be motionless on your chest to get the press command. So if you get that bar down to your chest, but you're kind of rowing a kayak, you're going to be there for a while. And
I like that analogy.
that bar touching your chest, you have to have so much control. There are so many little things that you need to do to have a really good bench press.
And that was a really easy looking opener there. But yeah, if you're in the gym and just sort of heaving it or sinking it into your chest and then throwing it up whenever you want to, and you get to a meet, you're definitely going to get your eyes opened. And that's where before competition too, talking to people who have done a competition before and know what to expect, and having them explain things to you is definitely an advantage.
So this is 121 pounds. Good lift. So I think from the angle of this camera, you can't necessarily see, but this is a common question that I'm going to ask on behalf of others. Is arching bad for you?
Definitely not. So you'll see all these athletes setting up, and when they arch, they are actually helping set their shoulders into really a safer position for the shoulder joint. And then it also just will push the chest up. It will decrease the range of motion a little bit. But it's not an unsafe position for the back.
And that's a good lift. I find you actually get tighter. You're more solid. And this is the other thing. With any of these lifts, so squat, we tend to think of it as, a leg exercise, but it's not. If you're doing it right, it's your whole body. Same thing with bench. We tend to think of bench as just an upper body thing, but really in powerlifting, if you're doing it right, your whole body is engaged. You're actively using what we call leg drive, and that energy is transferring its way back up into your press.
And that's one of the infractions that the referees are looking for, the butt staying on the bench. So with that leg drive, it can sometimes push the butt off the bench, but that butt must stay in contact with the bench. So we've had all successful openers so far here today. We're about halfway through the opening bench temps. With Kelsey taking 65 kilos or 143 pounds. And Kelsey weighs just over 60 kilos, so she's already benching over body weight here. And we've had, I guess Stephanie also benched over body weight already. I was going to say this is the first one, but no. Which is impressive in itself. There's a nice, easy-looking opener. And you'll see a variety of grips here today too. Some people, there are markings on the bar that your hands can't be wider than. And then you could go essentially as narrow as you possibly could, as long as the bar was touching the chest. So Sarah's got a little bit narrower of a grip.
And this might actually come from the fact that she started in CrossFit. So she actually loved the lifting part of CrossFit, and that's why she kind of wandered into powerlifting, and she's definitely hooked now. So sometimes when we're transferring from another sport, we have You have those habits.
Definitely those tendencies that you picked up from an earlier thing. And most people with time, with a wider grip, would be able to get stronger. Not always. Some people, even on the world stage, do have a bit narrower of a grip. But for the most part, people will be out with their hands touching the rings. But it's definitely not something that you'd want to change even in a month. You'd want to change it slowly over time so your body can adapt. Because initially it will seem like a weaker grip.
Yes, I'm laughing because I'm remembering when I first started and it was much more narrow, and I was forced to just extend it out a little further, and I thought it was hell.
It takes some getting used to.
And now I can't go back.
And you might feel, and you might be weaker at that bit wider grip initially, but over the long term, usually it's a stronger grip. So you can see the spotters putting those little blocks, what are called foot blocks, onto the platform. So the athletes have the option of adding a foot block. So their feet still have to be in contact with the block, but it just raises them up. So often people who are shorter will use them, or people who maybe have a back injury and just can't get that extension and that arch through their back hurts. So they'll often use foot blocks as well.
So this is just under 160 pounds. You know, sometimes I forget the weight in pounds. I just see the plates, and then when I'm saying it out loud, oh yeah, that's really heavy.
Yeah, definitely being around the sport all the time, your perception of what strong is, it gets skewed because you see a lot of really, really strong people. But all these ladies out here today are definitely strong.
And that's the thing about powerlifting. You're never strong enough. That's what gets you hooked.
There is always more weight to put on the bar. A little bit of a glitch there. It looked like she maybe just misgrew, pushed down towards her feet a little bit. So she did get called on up and down movement there. But to me, it wasn't really a strength issue. It's maybe just a little bit of a positioning issue, especially the fact that she was able to recover it. If it was a strength issue, she probably would have pushed sort of low and then she wouldn't have been able to recover it. But the fact that she was able to recover it, I do expect her to come out and smoke that on her second attempt.
Well, and it might be because it's the first bench as well, right? And then, again, like I said earlier, there's a lot of commands with bench.
Yeah, so she could have just not quite been ready for that press command or overthinking it a little bit and then drove a little bit in the wrong direction off of her chest. Oh, that was a
rocket.
And I think one of the cool things about this sport too is we already spoke about the age range, but also the body size and shape variance that you get amongst the athletes. Yeah. It's really a sport for teeny tiny people and then people of all sizes beyond that. Tori's taken 87.5 for her opener here, and she's in the 84 kilo class, so she's also opening up over body weight, which is definitely a huge accomplishment. We've got a number of ladies opening up at that today.
That was a nice bench. Very controlled.
So that's 192 pounds. So I would expect to see her over 200 today based on how that looked.
So where we're sitting, we're kind of sitting from the side here, so we can see how the bar is moving, what we call bar path. And in powerlifting, what you'll notice is the bar doesn't actually move straight up and down vertically. It's almost like a little bit of a rainbow backwards, and then for more intermediate advanced lifters, that bar path looks even more different, where it's back and then up over the face.
All right, Michaela is asking for 55 for her second attempt. She was successful with 50 on her opener, so I expect this to move quite well again. And you might be able to, like Carolyn was saying, you might be able to pick up on some coaches giving that back cue.
It's a common one.
And they're just trying to cue that athlete to push back a little bit more towards the face. And again, some of it's just that arched shoulder position, that the natural path is going to be a little bit further back rather than just straight up and off of the chest. So Melissa's got that bit of a wider grip that we were talking about. I don't think she's quite at max grip, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And an easy looking second attempt there.
And it just depends on people's anatomy too, right? Like sometimes people have really long arms and a close grip bench doesn't feel good
It's
at
a
all.
really long range of motion to push that bar through. Stephanie, again, just weighing 48 kilos and benching 62.5. Very impressive here today. And you can see her hands are just inside the markings. Looks like her pinkies are almost on the mark.
Looks like a good press.
These athletes are focused here today. We've got athletes here that I suspect are trying to hit a regional qualifying total. So the regional qualifying total would allow them to hit or to compete at Western Canadians, Eastern Canadians, or Central Canadians, which are being held in February and March of 2024. We also might have a couple that are aiming to hit their national qualifying total. That would allow them to compete in Prince Edward Island at Nationals next September. So lots of different goals depending on each athlete. There's going to be a wide variety, and lots of times you'll have sort of priority 1, 2, and 3 goals.
Good lift for just under 149 pounds.
So Kelsey, I just noticed on the scoreboard, what caught my eye is her prognosis total is not a multiple of 2.5, and that's because on her deadlift opener, she has a record attempt in 173.5, and I believe that is a provincial deadlift record attempt. So very impressive that she's intending to open with that on deadlifts. So you might have noticed that all of these attempts are multiples of 2.5 unless it's a record. But so far in this session, we haven't seen any records or what we would call chips.
The other thing too is for women, so Kelsey just had a 5 kilo jump from her first to second attempt, which you don't see very often. Usually bench is something that the female lifters tend to struggle a little bit with, and you see 2.5 kilo increments.
And a lot of times it's percentage too, right? Because on a load less than, even a load of 100 for easy math, 2.5 kilo jump is 2.5%.
Yeah.
So it's an even higher percent at these weights under that number. My mental math is not that good. But sometimes we forget that that was a very fast second attempt. That even a 2.5 kilo jump can be a huge percentage jump for some of these weights.
And sometimes it's the thing that kind of makes and breaks whether you get the lift. So we might see that in third attempts.
And with this sport, it's also about building momentum as your meet goes on. So you want to keep sort of making positive jumps
Yes.
and sort of having positive experiences with every attempt, because say you make your opening squat and then you miss your next two, going into bench, you're in a worse mental state.
Yes.
So the more made attempts, the more positives you can take, the better sort of mental shape you'll be in come deadlifts.
You'll hear the phrase build the total. Because realistically, if you're making pretty wild jumps, it's hard to successfully make those PRs that you work so hard in the gym for.
So Jade missed that attempt. She got a yellow card from the side and a blue from the front. I'm thinking the blue might have been a downward, though I didn't see it. And then the yellow from the side, potentially like butt coming off the bench would probably be my guess. But I'm not 100% sure. And we don't have a jury today to go ask questions as to what those infractions were. We've just got to let the referees make the calls, and we accept them. But Jade will have another shot at that on her third attempt, so she can clean it up.
171 pounds.
There you go.
Oh,
All the way. Ah, shoot.
just about had it, and then just lost a little bit of tension, and then it went down.
So Heather had missed 72.5 on our opener. She had that bit of a missed groove where she pushed towards her feet. And then she did choose to jump 5 kilos, which I always hate seeing that on the score sheet, because it's just that concern of, well, if you do something a little bit funny or you misgroove it, you might not be able to. And to me, that was a prime example of, if it had been 5 kilos less, she might have been able to grind that out. But she does have another shot at it, and we'll hope that she can come out and just put it in the right path and press it all the way through lockout. Oh, that's a good fight. And as you can see, the referee will give you almost as much time as you want to fight it out until it starts going down.
That bar was in one place for
And
kudos to her.
To me, it hadn't gone down. So as a referee, I would have still been giving her a white light until she brought it down. As a referee, I often think about the athletes actually have to earn me giving them a red light. I'm giving them a white light until they do an infraction that I unfortunately have to give them a red for.
Yes, and lifters need to remember that the refs are giving lifters the benefit of the doubt. So it's always in the lifter's favor. A little up and down there.
I'd say she just pushed that one a little bit sort of towards her feet off the chest is what I saw.
It is a pretty big jump. Went from 75 to 82.5. That you don't find common.
No, definitely on the higher end of what you would see for jumps in this weight range.
Tori's coming out with 92.5 kilos, so that's just about 204 pounds.
Ooh, that's a nice looking second. And she's just over 200 pounds here, 203 pounds there on that attempt. So definitely a exceptional bench for a female.
And the beautiful thing about powerlifting is people have strengths in particular lifts. Every once in a while you find somebody who is somewhat equal in all the lifts, but usually each lifter has a particular lift that they do better in.
And most often that corresponds with the lift that they enjoy the most, too. Now, whether that's because they are the best at it, it's hard to say. Or because they enjoy it, they train it more, and therefore it gets stronger. All right, 55 kilos for Danielle's third attempt.
121 pounds. Just a little bit too much.
And another prime example there of the referee's not going to take it from you. You've got to keep pushing, and they'll give you the time that you need to try and push it through. And I know sometimes as an athlete, when that's happening, you wish that the referee would tell you to rack it sooner. When you know that you aren't going to make it, but you don't want to give up pushing. So 60 kilos for Michaela here.
It's very fast to the chest.
Good fight through the
Yeah, it was a
lockout
good
there. See what the referees think. There, good third attempt.
Good lift.
She looked happy with that one.
Yeah, I find with bench that you really do need to take the time to set up, because once that bar is out, there's no way you can really recover well. You can somewhat with a squat, but bench is one of those things, once you're out there and if things aren't lined up well, it's hard.
And that's where athletes do have that full minute. So if you got the handout and you weren't happy with where things were, you can always replace the bar and get the handout again. Nice looking third there for Stephanie. And a minute seems like not very much time, but when you're actually out there, it's longer than you think it is. And you can do a number of setup and reset ups if you need to within that minute.
So our previous two lifters have made all of their attempts so far.
And that's really always the goal. The elusive 9 for 9. You might hear that. Just not quite there today.
I'm actually impressed with the females and how they are fighting in that mid spot.
Most definitely. They're not giving up until really the bar is going down, but they're taking their time and fighting through, trying to push through it. Because sometimes it's just like an inch or an inch and a half that you've got to get through. And if you get the bar through that position, the lockout will be no problem, but you'll see just it slow down through that position. And that'd be what we call a sticking point that the athlete has to push through.
Larissa has 70 kilos, 154 pounds. Yeah. Let's see what they
looks like
say.
a successful lift there.
Yeah, good. And she recovered well. So from the side here, her press started off a little straight and then she corrected
She was
herself.
a little bit slow through there, but just kept pushing and all the way through lockout.
So Kelsey's asking for 72.5 kilos, shy of 160 pounds. She jumped 2.5 kilos. I suspect she's going to want to preserve some energy for that provincial deadlift attempt.
And again, fighting, you could see almost her trying to find where the right path was off of her chest.
It almost went too far back too soon.
Yeah, you can't really see it from the front, but from our side view here, you could see a bit of horizontal movement happening, just trying to find where that sweet spot was. So Jade missed 72.5 on her second and went up to 75. And I believe it was I think she had a 2 and a 3 card. And I think it was a bit of downward, and we maybe thought butt, but we weren't sure what that 3 card from the side was. So she did choose to still go up that 2.5 to 75 because it wasn't really a strength issue. And she wants that extra weight for her total. And you've probably seen already an assortment of setups. Some of the girls will hang onto the bar to set up. Jade hung onto the uprights. Some people will hang onto the bench. So it just depends sort of, and they're all just trying to get their shoulders into the best and most optimal position for them. And just not quite there today for Jade.
Did a bit of the same horizontal movement. The newest rule, you cannot put your feet on the bench to set up. And that, for some people who have been in the game for a while, that was an adjustment.
But we're almost completed our first full year of that rule, and I think by now most people have figured out how to set up and figured out what they need to do to get essentially into that same position just without putting their feet up on the bench. That was a really fast descent there.
Yeah. Yes.
She was able to control it. Looks like she's happy with that one. All right, so Heather missed this on her first 2 attempts. She chose not to go up and wait, which I am happy to see.
Yes.
So 77.5. It looks like she's just misgrooved them would be sort of the best description. I think the strength is there. She just needs to make sure that she puts it where she wants it to be. Now, part of it could be I don't know what sort of equipment she trains on. Sometimes the equipment on the platform can throw people off if they're used to one certain bench height, width. Their setup could be a little bit different on the comp equipment versus what they train on.
And even when you're using powerlifting equipment.
There we go.
There we go.
That looks good. See what the referees say about that one. Oh, shoot. So she got 2 yellow cards from the side. I'm guessing for her butt coming off or a foot movement. I'm not sure. It looks like her butt. I just saw one of the referees
Point.
motion to. It looks like that's what they called. His butt was well off of the bench, unfortunately. So Heather won't have a total today because she didn't make a successful bench, but she'll still be able to come out and deadlift today. So Jenny's out now with 80 kilos.
176 pounds.
And just
It's that same point there. It's a little bit of a straight press, and then you get part way where you actually need to start pressing back. So, and that's something you learn with time and experience.
And sometimes you need to fail some lifts. Sometimes people don't fail in training, and you need to fail to actually see where your failure point is and sort of what your body does when it fails in order to be able to modify your training to make those corrections to get stronger and push through those sticking points in the future.
So Michelle attempted this last time, 82.5, and she's trying it again. There we go.
I think that second must have just been a bit of a misgroove. Oh. All right, so she did not get that attempt. Yellows from the side, I would guess for butt, and then a blue from the front.
I'm not sure what it would be from the front, to be honest. Unless it's elbow.
Now, elbow depth should be a red card. Not sure what that blue from the front would have been. So Tori's our last bencher here this morning in the female flight. 100 kilos on the bar.
220.5 pounds. Very impressive.
And 100 kilos is definitely a big milestone here. Good try for Tori there. And again, from our view, you could really see her body just sort of playing with that horizontal, trying to find where that spot that she could push through was.
You're absolutely right. That 100 kilo mark. I know for females, you kind of go through these benchmarks. You want your yellow plates, 50 kilos. Then you get your blue plates, 60. Then the big reds.
And then 1 red, 2 red, 3
Yeah.
red. Now, on Michelle's attempt where she got that blue from the front, I wonder if he's calling her for not pressing her elbows to complete lockout.
soft elbows.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be able to see that from where we are. So that would be my guess. And rolling right into the men's flight here.
See what I mean? It's so complicated. Bench, so many things. There's so many things for the lifter, and also on the ref side, there are so many things to watch for.
As a referee, your eyes are definitely sort of going everywhere, trying to make sure that you don't miss anything. And that's part of why there's 3 referees as well. Different sight lines, different views, so that at the end of the day, you hope that the referee was judged appropriate, or the lift was judged appropriately.
That was a fast bench.
And these openers just trying to get on the board so that you can have a total and then have some fun on second and third attempts. And I would think most of the men here today will be closer to that max grip. I know Dustin is at absolute max grip. Oh, that looked really good.
That was really fast.
That looked better than it normally does in training, so that's always a good thing.
And that's the thing. Sometimes you prep for a meet and everything goes perfectly well, and on game day, it's not quite the same, and vice versa. I've been in competitions where the prep was terrible, and I thought, oh, I don't know how this day is going to go, and I had the best day. So it can be a factor of things.
Unfortunately, the platform doesn't always reflect how your training cycle has gone.
So Tommy has 140 kilos, 300, just about 309 pounds.
And he is in the 105 kilo class today, and we're actually going to have a decent little battle here in the 105 kilo class for the men. Right now, first through third is separated by just 12.5 kilos on total, which is pretty close, from 642.5 to 630. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that as we approach deadlifts. So making every attempt is definitely going to play a part in who ends up as the 105 kilo winner today.
Well, and especially when you're trying to place in something, all of those attempts matter, each kilo.
And that's where coaching can be a big part of this sport too. As a lifter, you want to just be able to focus on lifting the weights, going out and executing properly. That was a very easy opener there. Oh. I'm wondering if maybe head came off the bench. It looks like, yeah, the referees are motioning to head, so his head came off the bench, and the side and the chief referee noted that. So that's where that red card came from. So that missed attempt could come and play a big factor when we get down to the last round of deadlifts in actual placing. But yeah, sometimes people don't really think about coaching in the sport of powerlifting because they're like, well, people just are going out and lifting weights. But when it comes to placing and trying to sort of set yourself up ahead of your competitors, having somebody watching the numbers all day can definitely make a huge difference in where you end up. easy opener there for Brandon. So same weight on the bar for Matt's opener here. And he was successful with all of his squats, and his third squat was very easy looking, so I expect his benches to look the same. Got a very high rack height on the bench there, long arms here, big range of motion. But again, a nice, easy opening attempt. So 2 more benchers in our first round of bench press here. Daniel's taking 152.5, so 336 pounds. So a bit narrower grip. Oh, no, I lied. It's just how he was setting up, and then he moved his hand out
Tricked
to
you.
beyond the ring.
Daniel's been lifting for 9 years and competing for 7, and this is his 4th provincials. So we have kind of watched him evolve over the years.
And has definitely made some good progress in the sport. And that's where often people say it's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. And that applies to both your opening attempts as well as just where you start in the sport and how strong you are at your first competition. Question people often ask is, how strong do I have to be to do my first competition? And really the answer is, if you can lift the bar with collars, which is 25 kilos, then you're strong enough, because that's the minimum you can do. So as long as you can lift that, you are strong enough to do a competition.
So we have Nate, who is our equipped lifter, and I don't think you can see, but he's wearing a special shirt, a bench shirt. Same as that squat suit, but this shirt helps you be able to press a little bit more, but it is so technical. So it's basically almost like being an elastic band springing back, and you have to have so much control, otherwise that bar is going to fling over your face, your head, and you really do need a team to support you as you're training for this.
So starting our second round of bench here, Jerry's taking 107.5. So we see a bit bigger jumps, probably on average 7.5 to 10 kilos in this men's light, which makes sense when you think of percentages.
Jerry actually got interested in powerlifting because he watched Calgary Barbells, the Powerlifter documentary.
Fun fact, Bryce Krawchuk of Calgary Barbell is actually from Saskatchewan.
Yes.
He never lifted as a Saskatchewan lifter, but he did grow up in the province. So there's some Saskatchewan roots there with Calgary Barbell. And it's definitely a channel that you should check out if you are looking for some information. They're very informative, some tutorials on how to lift and things like that. Bryce is a multi-time Team Canada member as well.
He's a bit of one of those powerlifting unicorns that can lift classic and equipped.
Yeah, definitely some carryover. And Dustin's up here with 127.5, and Dustin's another lifter who does some equipped lifting as well.
Yes. And I say powerlifting unicorn endearingly because it is really hard to find people who will do both and can do both. You do move different in equipped. Some people assume that you just throw on the equipment and can do the same old, but the pattern of movement is very different.
It is very different. Probably the best descriptor that maybe people can visualize is comparing high jump to pole vault. We're both jumping over a pole. Pole vault's just doing it with the aid of an implement, and they're jumping higher. Usually equipped lifting does lift more weights, but in the end, we're still doing the same movement. We're still getting over a bar. We're still lifting a bar, but the movement itself, we're using different tools to get over the bar.
I've never thought of it that way, but it makes a lot of sense. And I'm just, in my mind, I'm picturing that that just getting flung off.
There could potentially be some commonalities there as well.
That happens in Equip.
All right, Tommy's taking 7.5 kilo jump here.
He's had a good day so far.
Good day
He's
so
made,
far,
he's
yeah.
made all of his lifts.
And he's just what I would call a light 105 kilo lifter. He weighed in at 96 kilos. Nice looking second attempt there. And that's another thing with the sport. There are weight classes. So there's 8 women's and 8 men's weight classes. But you can weigh in at whatever body weight you are. You don't have to be cutting to a certain weight or have a certain weight. And I think that's something that, to me, a lot of new lifters get focused on. What I need to make my weight class. And I'm always like, you can be a very light lifter in your weight class. I know for me, when I did my first competition, I remember the thing I was most worried about was my weight being known and being projected on a screen. And really, once I did my first meet and experienced that and realized that nobody here cares what you weigh, everybody's very supportive. It definitely took that concern out of my mind for me. There we go.
He actually jumped.
Yeah, he had missed his opener because his head came off the bench. But he still jumped that 7.5, which is a risky move.
We'll see, because from this angle, I could see the head wanting to come up. But
so
it
he was
stayed
really
on
having
there.
to fight and keep it on. And sometimes it's, depending on the build of the person, it's not that they're actively lifting their head. It's just as the bar is coming down and their shoulders are sort of rolling forward, that their head will just naturally lift off the bench a little bit. So they do actively have to push it back and push it into the bench.
Getting back to that comment about cutting for your first meet, I wholeheartedly agree. There's enough things to worry about for your first competition, the rules, the whole process, how you're going to do. Adding a layer of stress that's related to weight is not fun. And, cutting weight is, I don't know if it's like a rite of passage, it seems, for some people, but don't do it unless you have to.
No, it's definitely not a necessary thing for the sport.
And it does play with you a little bit as you are prepping for a competition, because that there's that adage, mass moves mass.
Most
so
definitely.
If you are losing mass and you're trying to move more mass, sometimes that does something mentally.
So we did have a bit of a technical issue with the lights on Matt's lift, but he was successful with that 157.5 second attempt. Brandon's taking 160 kilos here. And again, he's one of the competitors in that 105 kilo class that's going to have a little bit of a battle come deadlifts. So he needs this 10 kilos here on the bench press. And it looks like he's got a little bit more in the tank there. So I think at most I would suggest a 5 kilo jump, just with how it slowed through that midpoint.
It's really nice to see Daniel kind of like near the end of the flight with his bench attempts. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to watch lifters evolve and grow. Very Very
Looks
nice.
Very strong. And then our final lifter in the second round, our equipped lifter, Nathan Dorward, jumping 10 to 205 kilos. So if we watch him walk out here, we should be able to see that his arms are a little bit flexed. They're a little bit in front of him. And that's just where the shirt is forcing him to be.
A little T-Rex-ish.
Yes, that is a good descriptor. And really, he doesn't want to move his arms because the shirt is set a certain way. So it's been pulled down and it's where he wants it to be. So if he moves his arms too much, it'll get pulled down and it'll pull out of position. Flew off his chest there. And gets
That's a good
credit
lift.
for that.
Good. I know he had some concerns about this. I was talking to him before this session. He had some concerns about his shirt. It was loose, and you don't want that in equipped bench. You want a tight shirt. So it looks like he managed to get some food in him and fill himself up.
And that's where, speaking of weight cutting, oftentimes with equipped, it can impact it even more because you want your gear to fit a certain way and it fits this way at a body weight. And if, for whatever reason, a few days before the meet, you drop an extra couple of kilos, your gear is definitely going to fit a little bit differently.
Yes, been there. It's not fun.
Push all the way through that.
So
that
controlled.
should be good. So much control on that. And he'll have credit for 110 kilos, and Jerry is 6 for 6 going into deadlifts.
Jerry's been lifting for 3.5 years. And that's pretty good control for somebody who's been lifting relatively for a short amount of time. So it'll be interesting to see how he grows as time goes on.
Yeah, and looking at his results, I think that's a competition personal best as well. And I say competition personal best because oftentimes athletes will have done more in the gym. But like we've alluded to, what you do in the gym isn't always the same as what you do in competition because of what's required in the competition and the competition standards you must abide to in the meet.
Dustin has 132.5 kilos, so 292 pounds. That he's going to try press here.
Just not quite there.
It's
for
a little
him
bit too
today.
heavy.
Now taking the bar up to 137.5 for Landon. He's been successful in all of his attempts so far today and jumped 10 between his bench opener and second attempt, and then 7.5 to this third attempt. So I expect it to still move well. And Landon's also in that 105 kilo class, so we actually have 5 competitors in. And just not quite there for him today. And it looks to me, looking at the score sheet, like there's going to be a bit of a battle for first, second, and third. They're in a little range of 12.5 kilos separating them. And then fourth and fifth are actually tied right now on total. And then what happens in powerlifting is if you're tied on total, it goes to the lighter lifter. So that's where body weight, what you weighed in at this morning, does play a bit of a factor because the lighter lifter will place higher. Thomas Johnson now with 152.5 kilos. Right now he is in the lead in this 105 kilo division. And that attempt will definitely help him in the rankings. That's a good lift. And that's where attempt selection is so crucial because that 5 kilos there that he just earned could be the difference between placing, and it also is just 5 kilos less that he doesn't have to deadlift that now. So Alexei is taking 157.5. He had that bit of an issue on his opener. I think his head had come off the bench, but he seemed to correct that on his second. So hopefully he can adjust how he set up, or whatever he did on the second, repeat that so that head stays on the bench. And sometimes from the side, depending on where the safeties are and the arms and the plates are, it's sometimes hard to see that head coming off. That looked solid, and from my view, the head looked okay. And the referees agree. It's always nice to see somebody who misses their opening attempt but is able to make that correction and then make their next 2 lifts. Just like we said earlier, that building momentum. I'd almost prefer to miss an opening attempt than a third attempt, just for that building momentum going into deadlifts.
True.
I prefer not to miss any attempts, but there is some flow that you need to get into your day.
Well, and I think competition too, when you are missing attempts and knowing that it has to build, that experience helps you practice the mental part of powerlifting, which sometimes is underrated. You focus on the physical aspect, but powerlifting is very much mental. There's so much mental work that goes into this.
And especially because the 3 lifts build on each other. So if squats and bench don't go well, then you can start second guessing how your training cycle's gone, how deadlifts are going to go. That was a nice second attempt for Brandon there. And actually, that's good for his total, because now he's just 5 kilos back from Tommy. So we're going to keep our eye on that 105 kilo class.
Brandon's been lifting for 13 years, and he said he's training to become a Super Saiyan.
Really fast descent there for Matt, but he's able to control it on his chest, which is obviously works for him. It's obviously how he trains. You watch that replay here. Just comes down so fast, but then once he gets that press command, he can still recover from it.
So Daniel's going to come out here asking for 2.5 more kilos. So even though it's about the same weight, Daniel's in a different weight class.
Yeah, Daniel's actually 2 weight classes below Matt. It's creeping up on that 2 times body weight bench press, which is definitely a huge milestone. I'm just not quite there today. He's definitely one that's just made consistent progress over the years. If
Yes.
you look at his results over time, it's just slowly chipping away, and it's always nice to see that sort of progress. And it's so helpful mentally when that's the case, and it's not just huge gains when you first get into the sport and then you're fighting for those. Though inevitably you will hit the point of fighting for those 2.5 kilo PRs that you'll work months and months, if not years for, and it's definitely a joyous day when you hit those PRs. So Nathan's our last bencher today, taking 212.5 kilos, 468 pounds. He's got that bench shirt on, so he's just got to control it as it touches his chest and then drive as soon as he gets that press command. Just not quite there. I'm not sure if he would have got that lift even if he had locked it out, because I think there was some downward before the lockout,
Yes.
but he wasn't able to lock out that right arm there. So now we will take another 10-minute break while we set up for deadlift. Is our final lift of the day. So we'll have our female deadlift and then our male deadlift. And let's just take a look at the score sheet here. In our women's division, let's see. We've got a number of competitors in the 84 plus category. And actually we could have a bit of a battle here because we've got in first place right now, Jade Watson has 397.5. Sarah's in second with 390. And then Jenny's in third with 330. So definitely between Jade and Sarah, we could have a bit of a battle there. And even third to fourth, Jenny has 330 and Michelle has 317.5. So we might see a little bit more. Oh, and I missed Larissa there. She has 315. So we've got a good number in this weight class. And we also have a couple in the 63 kilo division, but there's quite a spread between those ones. So I don't think we'll see any battles coming down to the last deadlift there, but we're definitely going to see something in the 84 plus, I think. And then again, Kelsey is opening with a 173.5 kilo deadlift, which it's not a multiple of 2.5, so that means it must be a record, and it's a provincial record. And right now, the holder of that, it's actually her own record. I forgot that.
Yes, it is her own record from the Rise meet in July. So Kelsey has recently kind of started powerlifting, so she's enjoying those gains that you first get when you enter. And I mean, she has a background in fitness already, so that helps for sure. I'm just looking at GL points as well. So Kelsey, and then we have Tori and Stephanie.
So the GL point takes your body weight and gives it a coefficient and then multiplies that by your total. And it sort of lets you compare totals across multiple weight classes. So it almost levels the playing field to take it into account. Obviously, a 48 kilo lifter isn't going to lift as much as an 84 plus kilo lifter, but it allows you to, in some way, compare them. I know some people would say there's no formula that's going to be absolutely correct, because really you can't compare a 48 kilo lifter to an 84 plus lifter, but that's what the GL points try to do.
We've had a couple changes in the IPF too, as far as the points that we use. It's essentially like a strength score, if you want to think of it that way. So once upon a time we used to use Wilks, and then that changed, and we now use GL points. Other federations will use different measures like dots, but IPF
So we are 15 seconds away from starting deadlifts. Now with the deadlift, it appears to be a simple lift. There's only one command. The lifters can come out at any time. They have to stand up with the bar and wait for just a down command. That said, it is still a technical lift. There's two different variations that we will see. The conventional, where the hands are outside of the legs, and then the sumo, where the hands are inside of the legs. So Michaela here is setting up in a sumo fashion, sorry, where her hands are going to be inside of her legs, and a very easy looking opener.
Michaela was 87.5 kilos, and Melissa 105 kilos. That's what she's going to be pulling for her opener. Melissa got into powerlifting because she saw an ad to try it out and then just fell in love. She's been lifting for 2 years.
And again, nice easy openers that we want to see here.
People will contest which style of deadlift is better than the other.
And what's the answer, Carolyn?
It really depends on the person. For some people, sumo works better for them, for their leverages, for their body type. And for other people, conventional is better.
And sometimes it changes over time depending on sometimes injuries or muscle development or just even progress, that sometimes switching to the opposite lift will help spur on some progress, or maybe one lift is painful and the other one won't hurt. And a lot of athletes too will train both styles, but they'll definitely have one that's more primary that they do in competition.
Which one do you like better?
Depends on the day. Raw or classic, I do more conventional. And in the equipment, I like sumo better.
Mm-hmm.
Another solid looking opener there.
Yeah, definitely harder to do conventional in a deadlift suit.
Conventional in a deadlift suit feels terrible.
I mean, deadlifts in a deadlift suit just feel terrible overall, but conventional in a deadlift suit does not feel better.
So Larissa's got 125 kilos on the bar here, 275 pounds, and 2 big red plates. So definitely, like we talked about milestones earlier, every red plate is sort of a new milestone.
And she got interested in powerlifting because she was inspired by women who were lifting really heavy weight, and she's been lifting for 4 years.
So Michelle and Larissa are going to have a little bit of a battle here on total. Michelle's going to be ahead by 2.5 after this opening attempt. And that's for 4th place in the 84 plus division. And Larissa is just 2.5 behind, so they're nice and close. They're both coached by the same coach, I believe, though. So it'll mostly be about who makes the most attempts here.
Yes.
He'll put the weight on the bar to put them both in an advantageous position. And basically, whoever pulls the best today is going to be placing higher.
Michelle's been lifting for 15 years. She might have that advantage.
So Heather struggled a little bit on bench press, not being successful with any of her lifts, but she'll still be out here deadlifting, and I'm guessing trying to hit some PRs to end on a more positive note today.
Heather did her first comp in December of 2022 and has been lifting for 7 years. And she got into powerlifting because her coach encouraged her to.
So definitely lifting weights for a while, but the competition aspect of it is still new, and that could have played a part in how her bench press went today.
believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jenny was so successful. And still no belt on deadlift. So I would be curious to know if she has tried a belt and just can't make it work for her, or if she has never tried one.
It might be that because she's just been lifting for over a year.
And there's definitely something to be said about getting strong without a belt and making sure that your core and your back is nice and strong, potentially to reduce the risk of injury down the road.
Tori.
Nice easy opener there for Tori.
And Tori's been lifting for 3 years. And she wants to give
that was so fast. That
Yeah.
opener.
She wants to give a shout out to her husband, Chad.
Sarah's currently in second place in the 84 plus division with her total of 390. Just 7.5 kilos behind first though, and she does have body weight advantage. She is the lighter of the two lifters. So that means she only has to tie Jade's total. She doesn't actually have to beat it. Because when there's a tie, the win or the higher placing goes to the lighter individual. And that was a very easy looking opener for her. So there's definitely room to make some potentially aggressive jumps there, depending on, again, what her goals are today. She might take some aggressive jumps to try and put herself in a good position going into after second deadlifts. Well, let's see what Jade's opener looks like here. I expect it to move very well based on how her squats moved today.
Jade's been lifting for 9 months.
She's still so new to this sport and
Yes.
so much potential.
She's a 4th year nursing student at the U of S and wanted to give a thanks to Coach Caleb.
And another one not wearing a belt today. And sometimes the belt does sort of push you out of position and make it a challenge to get into the right position with deadlifts.
I think there's a time and a place. You don't want to, if you are using a belt, put it on at a certain point so that you get used to it. But I do know lifters who have become very reliant on the belt for the bracing, and that causes other issues.
So we have a provincial deadlift record attempt here for Kelsey, 173.5.
So Kelsey's always loved heavy lifting and decided to compete in July. She's been lifting in the gym for about 8 years, but powerlifting for 6 months. And her best memory is getting the 63 kilo provincial deadlift record
Well,
in July.
I'm guessing she's gonna break it here today. So maybe a new favorite memory there. A little bobble at the top, but I don't think the bar went down. Nope. Just more of a chest fall, but the bar itself didn't move. Nice and strong there. Lots of strength left. And while we're resetting the bar here, just a quick thank you to our sponsors of today's event, Welsh Kitchen, Flawless Nutrition, Olympia In-Depth Performance, Inner Strength Products, and SBD Apparel. It's always good to be able to support the companies that are supporting these events.
Kayla is asking for 97.5 kilos, 215 pounds.
Oh, very fast second attempt there. Let's see what she goes on her third. I'd like to see her take an aggressive jump again, because that was a 10 kilo jump between her first and second. And Melissa's going 115.
fast.
Yep, and referees like the way that looked.
Melissa,
She's got a bit of a wider conventional stance. But it's obviously working for her. Danielle's taking 125 kilos here, 10 kilo jump from her opener.
sometimes for deadlifts, you have deadlift specialists coming out of nowhere. There's a bunch of memes about this.
It seems it's often the lift that looked good for Danielle. It seems like it's often the lift that's the best, the quickest, because it is, even though it is still technical, it's sort of the easiest of the three, and you can sometimes muscle your way through the lift. So oftentimes it's the strongest right off the bat when people come to competition, and then with time, the squat or the bench might become their more competitive lift. Another strong looking second attempt there. And you'll notice with the sumo deadlift, there's a variety of stances. Some people will have their feet out almost touching the plates, or basically touching the plates and have to scoot their feet in when the bar goes down. And then some will have a more narrow sumo as well. And it just depends on what works with their body and their proportions and levers.
It's a good lift for Larissa. Her favorite powerlifting memory was hitting the 300 club in May. She likes playing and coaching basketball, drawing, painting, woodburning, so lots of craft stuff, and she's a social worker, mental health counselor.
It's a good looking second attempt for Heather. And the referees agree. 3 white lights.
Deadlifts go really fast. Michelle got into powerlifting just because she just loves lifting in general. And her favorite memory is hitting a 353-pound deadlift.
Working?
And she is the owner of Innovations Hair Studio in Estevan.
And a bit of a sticking point almost there at lockout. Where she's just so powerful that it looks like it could be almost on the verge of catching there at the top and getting called for supporting, but thankfully she didn't get called on that second one there.
It's pretty awesome. Jenny did her first competition at Last Chance last year, so just about a year ago. And she is a fitness and lifestyle coach at OPEX in Regina. And would like to thank Coach Steve for helping her push to reach her goals. We have Tori up, 155 kilos, 400 and essentially 42 pounds. Up pretty good.
And her best deadlift is 160, so I would guess she'll go 162.5 for her third attempt, just to take a crack at hitting a new personal best today.
So Sarah's favorite powerlifting memory was doing deadlift for cancer with her dad. They lifted side by side, and 1 year ago, they lost him to cancer. So today she is lifting for him. And she'd like to, good celebration there. Send a shout out to her kids, Caden, Emma, and Everett, for being awesome, and her husband, Adam, who supports all of her dreams.
So now we're over 3 red plates at 177.5, 391 pounds for Jade. And this lift would move her into first in the 84 plus division. Currently, she's in second. All right, it looks to me like she will be in first going into the third round of deadlifts. All right, we've got some exciting things happening here. And a new provincial record attempt here coming up for Kelsey. She broke her record on her opener and is jumping to 182 kilos. And 182 is 401 pounds, so breaking that 400-pound barrier, which is huge.
Yes, normally it'd be 2.5 increments. So when you translate it to pounds, this makes a lot more sense because you reach the 400 mark. All about milestones. It's been a while since we've had a 63 kilo challenge to the deadlift record, and since Kelsey's come into the picture, she's been able to push it. And that's a good lift and a new 63 kilo open provincial deadlift record.
And I did just take a peek at what the national record is currently, and it's currently 205 kilos. So I don't think she'll be attempting it today, but I do think it's probably on her radar and is on her goal board for the future.
Kelsey actually graduated with a degree in kin in 2020 and is a personal trainer in Saskatoon. She'd like to thank all of her family for their support in traveling here from BC and Manitoba.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a long way. And a thank you to Coach Danny Heintz, who is founder of Bridge City Barbell, and as well as the entire Bridge City Barbell team for their support.
Now that was an aggressive jump for Michaela's third attempt there. She jumped from 97 to 110. Finishes the day going 9 for 9 at a 260 kilo total. And she will be our gold medalist in the 69 kilo division.
A perfect meet. 9 for 9 is what you want. Melissa.
$122.5, looking to finish her day. Just a little bit too heavy today.
Yeah. She'd like to thank her other half and children for being supportive of her attending to all of her training and all of her meets. It does take a lot of time and effort. Danielle.
Asking for 132.5, 7.5 kilo jump from our second.
What is the provincial deadlift record for? I think that is
For 63?
No. Oh. Sorry, I'm thinking about somebody else here.
Never lost back position on that. That was a very nice looking deadlift.
I was
Good
thinking.
lift
I was
for
thinking of
today.
Stephanie here.
Ah, okay,
That's. I jumped ahead.
That makes more sense. Because Danielle's in the same
Yes.
weight class as Kelsey. So Kelsey holds the deadlift record.
I believe Elaine Tan holds the deadlift record in the 52 open.
We do have another provincial record coming up right now. And you are correct, Carolyn. Elaine Tan holds this record.
Oh,
I'm not quite there today. Now, I'm not sure because that Elaine's deadlift record is 139.5. So I actually think Stephanie's attempt shouldn't have been 136. I think there was a little bit of maybe confusion there between the 47 kilo record and the 52 kilo record,
yeah.
because Elaine does hold it at 139.5. So I'm not sure where that 136 attempt came from. All right, Larissa is looking for 142.5 here. Just got to keep it moving smooth through the lockout.
Awesome.
And there we go. That lift will move her into 4th place for the time being.
And she'd like to thank Coach Ryan for forever pushing her to reach her goals, and Swole Nate, Michelle, and family and friends who encourage and support her.
And Heather's looking to finish off her day on sort of a positive note here, playing 142.5. Struggled a bit on the bench today, but that position looks really good. That looked very easy for a third attempt. And it is possible that she changed her game plan going into deadlifts here after not making an attempt on bench press, just to try and finish on, again, a more positive note.
She'd like to thank her coach Steve for helping her learn that she is stronger than she thinks she is.
Amazing. All right, Jenny is currently in 3rd place in the open women's 84 plus category. It doesn't look like this lift is gonna move her position unless Michelle changes her next attempt. But I think she's likely solidly in 3rd. There we go, and that attempt will sort of secure 3rd for her. Oh, 2-1, but she still gets that lift.
All you need is 2 white lights.
Exactly. So Michelle, it'll be interesting to see if there's a change. I don't see a coach over at the score table putting one in, because Michelle's 3rd attempt was in, so that if Jenny had missed her 3rd attempt, Michelle would have been pulling to move ahead of her. But they just left it at 152.5. This lift will move her into 4th.
Oh, come on, pull it! Pull it! All the way!
And no lift there. So she got called on supporting or hitching as she locked out. It wasn't a smooth glide up of her thighs. There was a bit of a hitch there as she got to the lockout.
She would like to thank Coach Ryan Fowler for pushing her to do her best, though.
And definitely sometimes when you're pushing your limits, you can't perform the lift to the technical rules. So Tori's taking 170 here, and she is our gold medalist in the 84 kilo division. believe that's a new personal best if the referees agree. And they do.
375 pounds.
So 3 more attempts in the women's division, and then we'll move straight into the men's. So Sarah is, let me just take a peek at the score sheet here. She's currently in second place, but if she's successful in this lift, she'll move into first ahead of Jade, and Jade will have to change her attempt. So there's some placing on the line with this attempt here. There she goes.
Perfect.
All right, see what the referees say. And there's a technical issue, but it's a good lift. They held up the flag, so that will move her into first. I think that surprised her a little bit too. So now Jade will have to change her third attempt if she wants to go home with the gold. But first up, we have Kelsey. Oh, there's a change in at the table, so there's going to be a bit of a delay here. And I'm guessing that change will be Jade's attempt. Bar is loaded at 185 for Kelsey, though.
408 pounds.
And again, this would push her provincial record a little bit higher. And if she's successful with this, she's only 20 kilos off of the national deadlift record. So it's definitely getting to be within her sights. So I would think she has a new favorite moment from a powerlifting meet after today.
Well, and also a new goal.
Most definitely.
And the 63 open kilo class in Canada is pretty stacked.
It is.
They are a phenomenal bunch of deadlifters. That's a good lift.
And that's almost what I would say a textbook deadlift in that it was slow off the floor, but once it got moving, it was an easy lockout for her.
Yes, that's the thing with sumo. When it gets heavy, it will feel like it's not leaving the floor, and you have to be so patient and push off the floor.
All right, and our final lifter in the women's flight is Jade Watson, taking 185. If she's successful, she's trying to move back into first place ahead of Sarah. See what the referees think of that one. 2-1. All right, good lift. And there's your provincial champion.
Oh. A little exciting back there.
And then just quickly while we reset the bar here, based on GL points, which is a coefficient that takes your body weight and multiplies it by your total to be able to compare across weight classes, our best female open lifter looks like it will be Kelsey Goodmanson with 83.87 points.
Nathan's out with a deadlift suit.
And that's a strong looking opening attempt.
Just waiting for the lights here.
And 2 white lights there. Looks like there's a bit of a technical issue with the lights.
Jerry, 225 kilos, 496 pounds.
And just 10 kilos shy of his best in competition pull, so I expect we'll see a new PB here shortly. Oh boy,
That's
I feel like he could have pulled a PB on his opener there.
yeah.
Incredibly easy there.
You never know with deadlifts because depending on how the other lifts go, you might be just gassed. And deadlifts do take a lot out of you. But on the flip side, if you are being strategic, you're building up. And for some people, when they get to deadlifts and they had a good day, it lends itself to a really good deadlift session. £529.
And again, just the variance that you'll see. Sort of slow through the lockout there, but still very solid, very strong looking.
Yeah, the thing with sumo too is there seems to be a misconception wider is better, but really you have to do what feels best for your body.
For sure. Easy
Beautiful.
attempt there. And it looks like Dustin and Landon are going to have a little bit of a battle here for 4th and 5th place in the 105 kilo division. We are flying through these opening attempts. And then in that 105 kilo class, there's going to be a bit of a close race for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So Alexei is currently in 3rd place with a total of 642.5, and then Thomas is in 1st with 655. So just a 12.5 kilo spread there, which really isn't that much ground to gain in deadlifts.
So Alexei's been lifting for 7 years, and he was a regional champion in Ukraine in 2019.
And our lights are just being a little bit slow here. So he definitely has some experience in the sport then.
Yes.
And you can tell there's some technical efficiency there with his pull.
Ukrainian powerlifters are very strong.
Very strong and very technical lifters. And Brandon's also, he didn't wear knee sleeves for squat, and he is opting not, I don't think he wore a belt for squat either, and he's opting not to wear a belt for deadlift. So again, if you're considering competing in the sport, you definitely don't need to go out and buy all of this equipment. What you need to have is an approved singlet, knee-high socks for deadlift, and sport shoes, and then a t-shirt. But most often you can wear the competition t-shirt. So as long as you have those 3 things, you can compete in a meet.
So his favorite memory is powerlifting with his younger brother. And he's involved in many other sports like baseball, football.
And Brandon's another one that's going to be in the running here in that 105 kilo class, so we will keep an eye on it. Currently, Thomas is in the lead. He'll be in the lead after the first round of deadlifts with a 655 kilo total, but I see that Alexei's second attempt is to move ahead of him. So these guys are going to have to make their attempts if they want to remain on the top of the podium.
Let's see what they say here.
Yeah, you got a
Yeah.
yellow and a red card. There was a little funny glitch at the top. I wasn't sure if he was fully locked out or if there was downward. It's hard to see on that video, but from the sort of side 3/4 angle
Yes.
where we are, I felt like I wasn't fully convinced that he had made that attempt.
You just needed to pull through just a little bit more, I think.
Just a hair. It was just borderline, I think. So Daniel is first in the 93 kilo division, an opening attempt here of 265. It's a nice, easy looking opener. And the referees agree it's a good lift.
Daniel placed 3rd at Westerns in August.
And that was a class that really the number calling played a huge factor.
He's
And
actually,
he made attempts.
yeah, and he, well, interesting that you say numbers because he is going to school to, well, he is a mechanical engineer, so he's really good with numbers.
All right, Matt's finishing off our first round of deadlifts here with 292.5 kilos, 644 pounds. Makes it look like nothing,
Yes.
too. Jeepers.
And so let me remind you, his first powerlifting meet was in July.
July?
Yes.
Wow. Does it say how long he's been?
He's
training?
Well, he's been in the gym since he was 16. He's
Okay.
32 now.
So training for a long time, but still very new to the sport.
So this is a testament, a really good example of if you've been fit, you've been going to the gym, but you haven't been powerlifting, it's not too late.
And that's where we had our masters competing this morning, and we had Dusty Deer competing who's in his 80s. And then tomorrow morning we have some youth competitors, I think as young as 8. So a huge age range. This sport can really be for anybody. All right, Nathan's looking for 245 here on his second. Not an easy looking second, but we'll see what the referees say. Good lift. There you go. And I believe that's a new personal best. It looks like his
Yes.
best previously is 235. So
Sometimes deadlift for equipped can be a bit of a struggle.
all right, Jerry in the 83 kilo division. He's going to be our gold medalist in the 83 kilo class. Attempting 250. Not
Just-
quite as fast as his opener, but still
No.
just solid.
But just calmly.
yeah. It's really nice to watch that lifting there.
I admire the people that can just walk up to the platform with no expression and, you know, go up there, do their thing, and then walk off. Okay, so Dustin.
So Dustin is currently in. He's currently in third, according to the score sheet. But really, to me, he's in fourth because Thomas didn't make his opener. But I'm assuming he's going to make it. And good second attempt for Dustin. So he's in fourth.
Dustin has a really good technical sumo, but I'm not surprised because he's surrounded by people who are experts in the technical stuff. So it does make a difference when you train alongside people who have been in the sport for a while and you know the tricks of the trade, so to speak.
And Landon and Dustin are going to have a bit of a battle here. All right, so that looked pretty easy. So that'll move Landon ahead of Dustin into third after openers, but I'm assuming fourth because I'm assuming Tommy's going to get his third here. Or his second, sorry. I'm one step ahead.
Landon's actually a personal trainer, so I'm sure that's a good foundation.
And this attempt will move Alexei into first place ahead of Thomas, even if Thomas makes his second attempt here. So we're definitely going to see a battle here.
Yeah, he's taking his time.
And just his back position. Ooh, a little bobble at the top, but was it before the down command? Ah, no.
Anything
he
can
was-
happen.
He was locked out at the top and just started to fall forward like a millisecond
Yes,
before that down
just
command.
a little bob.
And the referees caught that and no lift. So that makes things more interesting come
Yes,
third
it
round of
does.
deadlift. All right, Thomas just got called on not quite locking it out on that first one. So I expect him to be able to correct that here on his second.
Tommy's been lifting for 10 years, powerlifting for 5, and so he got a gold medal North Americans in 2019, so he has some experience.
There, that looks better at the top. It's just a little bit more extended, fully erect.
He says his hobbies are spreadsheeting.
Which I feel like would be a fairly common hobby in the powerlifting
Yes,
world.
the context behind that is he does coach other powerlifters, and him and Danny have spent a lot of time on Excel.
All right, and then this pull is attempting to move Brandon into first place. So this is going to be, I'm so excited for a third round of deadlifts here. So if Brandon pulls this attempt, he will be in first place in the 105 kilo division going into the third round of deadlift, which is a great place to be because you're essentially forcing the other guys to, they need to make their pulls to take it out of your hands. Taking his time on his setup, but he has that full minute.
Let's see.
And there we go. All right. He's in first going into that third round of deadlifts, which is where you want to be.
He's actually saving up for pilot school.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to our second last, or two more in the second round of deadlifts. Daniel Holzer's taking 275 here. And recently at Westerns, he did pull 282.5. So I expect this to move fairly solidly. And based on looking at his normal numbers jump, I would assume that he will go 285. Because every attempt so far today on deadlifts has been 2.5 heavier than what he did at Westerns. He did 282.5 at Westerns, so to me, why not go for it?
Yeah.
He's already won the gold today. And if he gets it, that would also give him, it would tie his PB. So he might go 287.5 to get that deadlift total and the deadlift PB and the total PB. I think that's what I would do based on how that second moved.
Oh. Did you see that?
Barely.
Yeah, because you blinked and it was done.
307.5 for that second attempt for Matt. Just flew. Let's see what his third looks like here. All right, so we are moving on to the final round of deadlift. And like we said, we're going to have some exciting stuff happening with the 105 kilo class especially. We've got athletes looking for all sorts of things. All right, so Daniel went 285, so that'll give him a PB deadlift. But he does have two options to change. So all these guys could change their deadlifts twice in the third round of deadlifts if they want. Could be for a variety of reasons. The most common one would be for placing, just to jostle positions. There's some coaching strategy involved during this third round. So we'll see what happens and try and keep you informed. And just not quite there today for Nathan.
Yeah, he got halfway and he just said, yeah, not today. I don't want to hurt my back.
But still finishes the day with a 700 kilo total, and I believe that's still a 35 kilo personal best.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
still an excellent day for him. All right. Alexei wants 260 kilos here. This lift, if he's successful, will move him into first place. This is such a close class here today. Position stays the same. All right, so let's see what the referees say.
Good left.
So he has moved into first place in the 105 kilo division.
And he'd like to thank his coach, Max Maraduda.
So Dustin is our next lifter. Dustin is currently in 5th place. If he's successful with this, he'll move into 4th place. And then, assuming that he's successful, I'm assuming Landon will be doing his 3rd attempt to try and take that 4th place back from Dustin. So this will move him into 4th, 265.
Beautiful.
And that ties his personal best, and that's a good
Beautiful.
lift for Dustin. So that moves him into 4th place.
A really good example of patience.
Most definitely. So Landon is going to try and pull ahead of Dustin here. Now he has 270 on the bar for a 630 kilo total. He really only needs 267 and a half because he only needs to beat Dustin by 2.5. Dustin has body weight advantage, but chose not to drop his attempt. He might not be looking at that placing. It's always hard to say. To me, why not lift the least you have to do to lift? But I know this sport's about lifting the most. And that's one of those situations that you hate to see because 2.5 kilos less might have been enough to beat Dustin and move into that 4th place. That was so close on the lockout there. Just couldn't quite get the hips through and shoulders back. Yeah, I would have liked to see that at 267 and just be enough.
He would like to thank the whole powerlifting community for being so welcoming and supportive.
All right, so sticking in this 105 kilo class for Brandon, this will be trying to take him into 1st place. He's currently in 2nd. There's so much jostling here. Currently in 2nd in the 105 kilo division, and if he's successful, we'll move him into 1st. And then if he does that, then Tommy will try and move back into 1st. So let's see what happens here. And this would tie Alexei and beat him on body weight.
600 pounds.
Just got out
just-
front
yep.
of him. Off the floor. You just saw it.
It just kicked out and really hard to recover from when that bar is so far away from you, especially in sumo. He would like to thank his little brother Keaton. If it wasn't for him, he would not be here.
So that still leaves Brandon in 2nd place, and his final placing will be dictated based on what Thomas does on his 3rd. I see a lot of commotion over at the coaching table. And it looks like, so Thomas dropped to 272.5. So same weight that Brandon just did, which he can do that because, no, he can't make this change. This is not a legal change. It's not legal. Lot number. Lot number.
So just kicked in front of him.
Next is Dari, 272.5.
So there's a little bit of confusion at the table there because Thomas's lot number was actually lower than Brandon's, so that wasn't an eligible attempt. Now I'm guessing because he missed it, they won't do anything. But if he had made it, then there would have had to be a debrief with the referees to
Yes.
decide or if they were going to make him pull it again, or what would be the situation.
Jerry here. Just a touch
Just
too
not
heavy.
today. But that was a big jump, 22.5.
Yeah, it was.
So in that 102 kilo class, 105 kilo class, Alexei finishes in 1st with 662.5 kilo total. Brandon finishes in 2nd with a 657.5, and Thomas finishes in 3rd with 655.
which he sends a big thanks to the Bridge City Barbell family.
So 2 more lifters today. Daniel would like 285 kilos on the bar here. And this would be a deadlift personal best, I believe.
I remember watching Daniel as a junior.
He's fairly fresh into the open division, I
He's
believe.
his experience from the junior class has lent him well.
Looks like the grip was, no lift there. Got called on soft knees or shoulders not being back there.
He would like to thank his family, girlfriend, and friends for supporting him and watching all the lifting videos he sends them.
And our final deadlift attempt of the open division at the 2023 Saskatchewan Powerlifting Provincial Championships is Matt Budney, 320 kilos.
So for context, that's 705.5 pounds. There should be more on there.
What an easy attempt to finish the day. But still, I believe his best pull before this was 295 kilos, so a 25 kilo.
Yes.
And he went 9 for 9.
Yes. Yep. He's very strong. I've seen some of his training videos.
All right, and looking at good lift points for today, for the men's session, it looks like
That's tight.
it's a tight with 88 points. Daniel Holzer is our best male open lifter. In second place, Matt Budney. And third place looks to be Thomas Johnson. Do you see that, Carolyn?
Yeah, it is.
So definitely a close session there. Definitely some battles happening in the 105 kilo division. So if you'd like to know more about powerlifting, if you'd like to maybe compete, head on over to SaskatchewanPowerlifting.ca. On there you can find an upcoming events tab. Click on that. If you scroll down to the bottom, our next competition after provincials will be the Last Chance Powerlifting Competition in Moose Jaw on December 9th and 10th. And registration is still open for that.
When does it close, Rhea?
November 5th registration closes. So still a couple of weeks to consider doing the meet. Like we said, you have to have a singlet, sports shoes, and knee-high socks for deadlifts. The singlet has to be an approved brand, which is available from one of our sponsors today, Inner Strength Products. And beyond that, you don't need a belt. You don't need knee sleeves. You need to wear a t-shirt, but you'll get a meet t-shirt, so you could wear that shirt. So you don't really need a lot. And then you need a membership card for the Canadian Powerlifting Union. And there is an anti-doping course that you have to complete, which takes an hour or two to do.
Ish, yep.
The Saskatchewan Powerlifting Association is a drug-tested federation. So our athletes are clean and they are tested at regular intervals. So that initial piece is just a bit of an education piece that all athletes have to do before they can compete, so they're aware of what their responsibilities are.
Yeah, and it sets you up for the if you choose to move on to the upper levels of competition, more competitive levels where there is that standard and expectation.
So we thank you for tuning in to our open session of the Saskatchewan Powerlifting Association Provincial Championships. We will have the medal ceremonies coming up here right away, and we hope that you'll join us tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we have the youth and bench only.
Yes.
And in the afternoon we have the sub-juniors and junior session.
Yes.
So there's definitely going to be some great lifting there. I actually expect some national records during the bench only session for
The
sure.
future
that
of
I'm aware of.
powerlifting.
In the youth session.
Yes.
Yes, most definitely the future in the youth session. As young as 8 will be competing. And then I'm sure some fabulous lifting in the afternoon session with the juniors as well. So we hope that you'll tune into that, and feel free to reach out to us through the Saskatchewan Powerlifting Facebook, Instagram, or through the contact form and contact information on our website, saskpowerlifting.ca. Thanks for tuning in, and stick around for the medal ceremony.
Thanks, everyone.
us? No.